MMA Oddsbreaker, I'm Frank Trigg. Georgie's on the other side of the line today. 145 pounds, getting ready to main event World Series of Fighting against Lance Palmer. Georgie, I was looking up your record, and it's 22-3, which is very respectable. Then I looked at Lance's record. He's 7-0. Like you're on an 8-fight win streak right now, which is longer than he's had fights, and you've done almost 3 times the amount of fights that he has. Is this really a match, a good match make by the World Series of Fighting matchmaker?
It's as a fighter, I'm willing to fight whoever they put in front of me. But as experience wise, I know he only has 7 fights. Not as many as my fights. I have more finishes than he has fights. So I don't look at that because MMA is so unpredictable sport. So I'm just going out there to be ready and just to go out there and finish him.
Well, he fights out Team Alpha Male. You're out of Millennia MMA, obviously. Alpha Male now has kind of got this reputation with Dwayne Ludwig finally moving up there a year ago. They're all great wrestlers. That was kind of what Uriah Faber put together up there at Alpha Male. Now, all of a sudden, all these guys, at least what they say is they're all great kickboxers, too, because Dwayne now is running over, is controlling the practices. In his last couple fights, have you seen Lance Palmer's stand-up game improve?
His last fight was with Jared Downing in RFA, and I'm hoping as a fighter he evolved. So I'm hoping when I fight him, his stand-up got way better than his last fight. But I'm just going out there. I'm gonna face the best best Lance Palmer.
Hold on, let me back up for a second. You're a really respectful guy. Most people at home that are going to see this later don't realize that you're actually a really humble guy. You're very respectful for your opponents, but you kind of threw a little bit of a jab in there. You're hoping that his stand-up improved tremendously from when he fought Downing, because you saw something in his stand-up that doesn't worry you. Like he doesn't have the stand-up game, at least in comparison to what you have.
Oh, of course, yeah. My stand-up is in a different level than his stand-up, and his wrestling is in a different level than my wrestling. But I've been saying this on my interviews. I know we're not going to go out there and just put a singlet on and wrestling shoes and wrestle. It's MMA fight, and in a wrestling match, just straight wrestling match, he might whoop my ass. But in MMA fight, it's a different story. So I think my stand-up is in a different level. My jiu-jitsu is in a different level. My wrestling is in a different level than his wrestling. So I'm going out there with a lot of confidence, but I'm still very humble. I'm working really hard, and I hope he's training hard, and he's going to be the best Lance Palmer.
You've got 4 KOs, 6 decisions, and 12 submissions. He's a wrestler. He's going to try and put you on the ground. You're a wrestler. You're going to try and put him on the ground. Are you more dangerous versus Lance Palmer on top of him when we're on the ground, or underneath him when you're on the ground?
I think both ways. On top, I'm going to look to...
Get off the fence, Georgie. Get off the fence. Pick a side.
On top, I'm going to look to cut him and try to submit him. And then from the bottom, I don't like to be... I don't like to make a boring fight. And, this is the first time World Series fighting going to Canada. So I want to put an exciting fight for Canadian fans. And, if he gets me to the ground, that's big if, I'm going to try to submit him, any way possible, or just cut him open.
Let's talk about Canada for a second. You live in Riverside, California, Southern California. It's sunny, barely gets below 50. Down there, it's probably one of the better places to live, especially if you want to train MMA. Since it's a year-round sport, you're able to train outside when you need to, run and do all your stuff outside, but still be able to get inside the gyms in the wintertime. Vancouver's going to be cold when you guys get up there. Is that going to factor into you cutting weight at all? Is that, being in that cold climate, it's a little bit more humid. It's a different kind of humid, obviously, than Riverside. But is that going to factor into you trying to cut weight?
No, I don't think the weather is going to affect me at all, cutting weight, because, I cut weight in the bathtub, so it's not going to affect me at all. So, but the cold weather might affect me just, going out there from California. It's going to be, different. But I'm looking forward to traveling to Canada.
Can you explain to the folks at home what you mean by cutting weight in the bathtub?
Well, cutting weight in the bathtub, I usually I do this process where I put Albolene all over my body, and usually the day of the weigh-ins, I have to cut 3 to 4 pounds. So I'll get 2 6 pounds of Epsom salt, and I'll put in a hot bath. And while I have all over me like albumin, I'll go sit in there for about 15 minutes just to open up my pores, and then get out and put a sauna suit and just lay under blankets for about another maybe 30 to 35 minutes, and I'll make weight easy.
So, like for me, I'm an old school wrestler. Like that new style of cutting in a bathtub isn't. I've never done it, and I didn't know how it worked out really. Then I started watching some other fighters doing it, and it's a very easy way to do it. I'm one of those guys that 20 minutes in the sauna, get the sweat rolling, and then you start jumping rope, and you have to be real physical to get your weight off. The bathtub way saves a lot of energy and saves a lot of recuperation time because you're not using any muscle. Like you said, you're in the bathtub for about 15, 20 minutes, put a sauna suit on, climb into some blankets, and lay there for 35 minutes, and you lose 3 pounds. That's a very easy way to cut the weight. Do you feel like that helps with your recovery the next day when it's time to fight?
I feel like it because I've been using it for past 7 fights, and it helped me a lot. Before, I would go sit in a sauna for about 2 3 hours to cut all that weight. But with Epsom salt, since it's I guess it's a wet sauna, because when you go in a sauna, it's like a dry, and it gets your brain all dehydrated. You feel like shitty after 20 25 minutes.
Yeah.
With the bath, I don't feel like that at all. Just a normal process. And Epsom salt, of course, if you're injured too, you could get on an Epsom salt bath and you feel better the next day. So I feel good the next day of the fight.
It's almost like when you're cutting weight, you've already started your recovery when you cut weight like that because you're in the Epsom salt bath. You're already starting to heal your body from the inside with the Epsom salt, and then you're cutting weight too. So it actually serves two purposes. And I wish I had known about it 10 years ago when I was cutting weight, so my body wouldn't be so banged up now from all the hours in the sauna.
Yeah, and I heard, I was reading that Epsom salt has a lot of magnesium,
Mhm.
and well, it's the best way for your body to take magnesium is taking an Epsom salt bath. That's
Correct.
one of the best ways. So.
Yeah, usually you're supposed to sit in it, take an Epsom salt bath for 30 minutes, so people get bored. I was laying in their bathtub, like I don't want to do this, so I tell them grab your laptop or your iPad or whatever, put a show on, whatever it is, and sit in the tub for 30 minutes while that show's on, and you'll be fine. Do that once or twice a week. You'll be amazed at how much recovery you have, and how much better you feel in between practices and in between workouts. So I'm a big believer in it. I like it. I'm glad a lot of guys are going to it because I think it's also safer to cut weight that way than the way that the old traditional old head wrestlers used to do it. I think it's a lot safer doing it that way. Well, I appreciate you coming out here, Georgie. I'm glad you came on and we finally got to talk to you in person. It was good. Good luck up there in Vancouver. It's going to be interesting. I'll be at home watching it. I'm interested to see how this fight pans out because I like both you and Lance. I actually know Lance through wrestling, so I've hung around with him a little bit more. But I like how you guys fight, and I'm interested to see what happens when the fight actually starts because both of you have really strict, very very well thought out game plans. But then once you start hitting each other, those game plans are going to change, and I want to see what happens with the game plan.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for the support, man.
My pleasure. Good luck, and we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Thank you.